evening. Welcome to Beaches Watch, our May 4th meeting. I'm Steve Piscatelli. I'm filling in for Maria Mark, who is usually our moderator. So welcome. Hong Seng is in here. I'd like to recognize Hong Seng. She's our Beaches Library supervisor who allows us to use this room, which is great. And Randy, he's the guy that's going to make the work for technology. So we appreciate it. This has been a big week when you think about it. Tomorrow is, what, Cinco de Mayo. Yesterday, I think, was the anniversary of the Great Fire, 121 years ago. 200 years ago, Calford was founded. And kind of fitting in with what we're doing tonight, I think this is the 100th anniversary of the aircraft carrier. I think. March 22nd was that. But this is the event right here tonight. All right, a couple of announcements as we always start off with. If you haven't done your renewal of Beaches Watch membership, please do it for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. You can help with funding our scholarship, which goes to a Fletcher High School student, and I think we have a former recipient right here. Jack got one a few years ago. So you can see Eileen and Joyce at the table there. We appreciate that. Recognition of our elected officials in here, and if I miss you, it's a reflection on me, not on you. We have Mayor Ellen Glasson, right here from Atlantic Beach. Commissioner Candace Kelly. Counselor, Commissioner. Oh. Vice Mayor Chin from Neptune Beach. Did I miss anybody? I got it. Okay, good. That's good. Also, Chief Pike from Neptune Beach. He is here every meeting. Board members, program committee members, and they make these things happen, so we appreciate that as well. We're soliciting applications still for our annual scholarship. If you know of a worthy recipient from Fletcher High School, please go to our website, send them to us, and we would like to look at their application. Atlantic Beach, just a couple of things. In Atlantic Beach, there will be a mayor's Council on Health and Wellbeing meeting coming up. And in Neptune Beach, there are 5 meetings coming up, land development code meetings. You see 2 in May, 3 in June. And I'm guessing, Vice Mayor, you go to the website and get more information, the city website on that? Is that right? Okay. Beaches Memorial Day celebration coming up in Atlantic Beach at the Beaches Veterans Memorial Park. And then, appropriately enough, June 1st marks the beginning of hurricane season, so what will the next Beaches Watch meeting be? It's going to be about emergency preparedness. We're going to have a representative from each beach along with a longtime insurance representative. So we look forward to that. And Randy, if you could get us started with this, so I can immediately get off this stage and get you to the person I've been told is also referred to as the 4th mayor of the beaches. I think you know who the person is. He's dressed a little differently than all of us in here tonight. So we are fortunate tonight to have the commanding officer of Naval Station Mayport, Jason Canfield, who's been here now in this particular position since June of 2019?
Since 33 months.
He has roots in Florida, graduated from a high school in Florida. He's a surfer. Graduated magna cum laude, I think.
Something like that.
Something like that. University of Central Florida. He did flight training in Pensacola as well as San Antonio, I think. Correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Accumulated more than 2,000 flight hours and has deployed in support of every numbered fleet. Now here's a quiz. How many numbered fleets are there? think there are 7. Is that correct?
Probably -1.
-1.
We go straight to 2, second.
Okay. The man gets all over the world.
That's okay. A lot of fleets.
A lot of fleets, yeah. His awards include Legion of Merit, Defense, Meritorious Service Medal, and the Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal. He's married, has 2 children. Would you please give Captain Canfield a warm welcome?
Thanks everyone for the warm welcome. It's an honor and privilege to be in front of you this evening. And it's just great to be great partners in the community, see friends that I've seen around lately. Out at the Bean Food Pantry, doing the ribbon cutting out there. Folks from my beloved Naval Station Mayport, and certainly Mayor Glasser, thank you for coming. And to that end, we've got a great partnership with all of the beaches, as was alluded to here. Being the 4th beach, they kindly coined me with Atlantic Beach, Neptune Beach, and as well as Jack's Beach, with both mayors Brown and Hoffman as well. So it's great. Yes, I'm the boy mayor, so of the women mayors that are very awesome to work with around here. So we'll begin with a picture, right? A picture's worth 1,000 words. This base has been around for a while. And again, up front, I want to learn about you too, the Beaches Watch. Don't know as much about your organization, but I'm sure we're going to get to that through this rich discussion. Going back to 1942, math in public, I'm going to, I guess, take the risk of doing that. That's 80 years, right? Something like that nowadays. Which means there's a lot of aging infrastructure. This environment in Florida is hard on buildings, on piers, in an area that is subject to a lot of heavy weather, right? And so if you don't recapitalize and spend a lot of money on it, there's going to be problems. And so we deal with those problems, and we have to prioritize things. We don't get as much money as the shore because, as you know, the Navy is in the business of buying ships, building ships. Ships are expensive. And airplanes, by the way. You know, aviation is my background. We'll get to that. So, but this is the base, right? Like you can kind of see. And there's certain things you can't move. You can't move the St. Johns River. You can't move the Atlantic Ocean. And we have wetlands to the south of us. So we're geographically constrained where we're at on this beautiful piece of Florida paradise here. That whole basin is dredged out, right? That's not natural for there to be a big basin. And so we have berths for up to 17 ships. We can nest them side by side. We can put the ships side by side. So we can get more there than 17 ships. Matter of fact, right now, 22 ships homeported in Mayport. And, you know, a lot of people, when they think of the Navy, they think of ships, they think of airplanes, they think of Top Gun. Everybody wants to go to Top Gun 2, right? When's it coming out? I don't know. You keep waiting. But my job is not Top Gun. It's really not. I was stationed in Fountain, Nevada years ago, but that's not the case now. So really my role as the Naval Station Mayport Commanding Officer is to do all the other things that enable warfighting. Okay, so that's why they call it, they say I'm the fourth mayor. 1.2 miles of Florida coastline, adjacent to the other great beaches out here. And I'm doing things that a mayor would do, really. And that is, you know, we have 972 single-family homes, dealing with all the tenant issues, dealing with making fresh water, getting rid of fresh water, environmental compliance, power distribution, emergency management as we come up on June 1st, hurricane season. As well as, you might notice we have a port too. So who ties those ships up, right? We got port operations with vendors and all the fun stuff on the waterfront that we have. We also have an 8,000-foot runway. You may be able to see that there. Who controls those aircraft? My folks, right? The air traffic controllers fall under me. Security forces, right? Who keeps a secure perimeter? In the wake of the tragic, you know, active shooters that we've seen in the past in Pensacola and Corpus Christi, you know, we are all about prevention and force protection, anti-terrorism, law enforcement, physical security, all that matters. All that falls under me. So, as a matter of fact, I've got a big inspection next week with regard to that. So these are all my focus areas, and really enabling the warfighter so they can think about employing their aircraft, employing their ship, and holding the enemy at risk. So with that, you know, this is the most lethal Navy in the history of the world, and capable. And very relevant, right? So those sea lines of communication, those sea lanes, ports are open. Why? Piracy's at a minimum. Cargo is flowing to and from. Free trade is happening around the world. And gas isn't $10 a gallon because we're getting fuel around the world. Unfortunately, it's $4. There's just a little war in Ukraine. And also, when you go to your big box stores, you notice things like, it's crazy when you think about the amount of food, the amount of goods and services that are on our shelves all the time. When you go during the winter and you go to your big box store, name one of them, and you see reindeer cherries that are on the shelf during the wintertime, those aren't coming from Washington State because it's not the growing season. They're coming from South America. And it's because of the Navy that these things are happening. The Navy's relevant today. And I just want to share that with you because a lot of folks, I think most of the folks around here in the Jacksonville area get it, but a lot of folks around the country don't understand that. So if you could help us with that messaging, that would be much appreciated. The other thing that's probably on your mind is the economic impact of Mayport. And this number may not be inflation adjusted. It's hard to keep up with this. You know, what's a dollar really worth today? But it's about $2.1 billion annually to the local economy. So that is significant to the small businesses outside the fence line, and it's significant to all of us, I think. A little bit more about me. It's significant to me because I plan on being a resident here as long as I can be here, right? And you know, 2.5 decades doing what the Navy asked me to do. Came from Cocoa, Florida, which was I think mentioned. Navy took me away from here, and then it blessed me with giving me the opportunity to come on back here 2.5 decades later. Now I'm over 28 years, been here for almost 3 years. And it's really neat to serve here, to get to influence change, to make a difference back in my home state. Wasn't my original community, but close enough, right? It's my home state. And then I'll be moving on to Naval Station Jacksonville in my next set of orders. But so sticking around here for as long as we'll put up with it. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're going to get to some installation demographics. You know, every Department of Defense organization has what we call a quad slide. I'm not sure if you do that on the other side. But if you go to the upper left quad, some things that are pretty interesting. 519 active duty, so just over 500 of those in uniform like me under my charge, with about 150 government civilians. Those are appropriated, funded. Folks like our public affairs officer in the back, Bill Austin, who does a fantastic job, has great relationships around the community. And then just under 400 non-appropriated funded folks. And so think about those folks as morale, welfare, and recreation, the people that do the food and beverage services around the base, the folks that man the bowling alley, the folks that man the gyms and work there. So they are put under my charge as well. So working closely with all of those, it's a lot. The plant replacement value, and that is adjusted for inflation. I asked my public works officer to take a look at this, and the number I thought was a little shy based on labor and lumber shortage, inflation, and fuel prices. So it is in fact $2.87 billion estimated out right now for Naval Station Mayport. Just under 4,000 acres. There's me in the upper left right there. And then as you look around, tenants, those are the commands that work with me on base, okay? So I talked about the roughly 1,050 under my charge. There's 11,000 people who work on the base on a daily basis. So there are tenants in which we have great relationships working with, and we work together. Those are the warfighters largely that I'm supporting, that my team's supporting. 3 entry control points. So, you know, unfortunately for Mayor Glasser, sometimes the traffic does back up into Atlantic Beach. We try to minimize that.
Just don't speed.
Don't speed.
You can't speed at the traffic stop.
No, absolutely. That may help, actually. Help save lives. So, Mayport Road, everybody knows Mayport Road, I think. Also, if you take A1A around, you know, the back, there's a gate over there, too, which provides another way into the base. It's not the most convenient route. People don't like to use it, so traffic usually just backs up on the Mayport Road. But very grateful for our relationship with the city of Jacksonville, because there's a third way in through Hannah Park, and they provide that to our sailors free of charge. One way in the morning and one way out in the evening. So they give them a sticker, and I appreciate that partnership right there. We have 17 wharves, or 17 places to berth ships. We can see that, you'll see that there's an additional one coming because we're rebuilding what's called the South Quay Wall, or the south part of the Mayport Turning Basin, which will give us 18 places to put ships. And then there's an 8,000-foot runway, as I said, with all the air traffic controllers, responsibilities there. Mainly rotary wing, so mainly helicopters. Not a whole lot of fixed wing, though we do serve as a dirt diver for the carrier air wings when they're working off the coast. Because we have shore-based arresting gear, all that good stuff that they need, which my folks maintain. Dry docks, we don't have any, but BAE has one, working closely with their director over there, Tim Sperato, retired Navy captain, and they're building more. So more dry docks coming to Mayport, the Mayport area, I should say, over at BAE, up to St. John's. So that's a good news story for major maintenance that goes on in the neighborhood. Let me also say, before we go on, we talk about major ship maintenance, we talk about airplanes, we talk about ships. Yes, we have weapons too. So we're a naval station though first. We're Naval Station Mayport, and we're not a naval weapons station, though we do naval weapons station-like things. We're not a naval air station like Jacksonville, even though the bus that comes on base says Naval Air Station Mayport every day. I was shaking my head, but that's okay. The reason why I tell you this is just the messaging of this, is that we're a naval station first, because that's the lion's share of our work. It's most of what we're doing on base. The airfield isn't as busy as I thought it would be when I first came into the job, but that port, it's hot. I mean, there's a lot of risk around there, cranes moving, heavy maintenance being done, and it's an industrial environment, right? And so we have a safety department which looks closely at all of our evolutions and tries to drive down risk. So that's another big part of the Next slide, please. Okay, this is just another view that you're going to see. I'm going to show multiple maps here. What you're not seeing on here, and this is a pretty one compared to the next one, is that we have 972 single-family homes. They're not all depicted here. If you go down Mayport Road about 2.5 miles or so, you'll see more down Mayport Road. The main Navy exchange is off base, as you'll see, adjacent to Rebulk Bay, Marsh Cove, and those are the housing areas that are off base too. Next slide, please. And this one's going to hurt your eyes a little bit more, but what I'd ask you to pay attention to are the areas that are not colored. And then you can take out, this area here, because that's housing, right? This is all housing down here. And then right there in the middle, south of what is the turning basin, you'll see a golf course. So you can't build on any of that. You can't build on anything with color on it. You can't build on housing that's already there. You can't build on a golf course. Wait a minute. That would really make some people mad, wouldn't it? So I always said that I'm not going to be the CEO that pays over 9 holes of the 18-hole golf course, right? But what we are doing right now is we're redoing the greens. So the golf course is closed, not because we're paving over it, but because we're bringing fresh greens to the citizens of Mayport. And largely, that will be done sometime this fall. It is a growing season. Unfortunately, it's beautiful outside right now and everybody wants to get to the golf course, but it's not going to happen. It's kind of the price that we had to pay to get some fresh greens in there. So why am I talking about this? Because there's a lot of land that you can't use, right? We want to grow this base. There was talk of, we're 22 ships going to, pressing 30. What's going to happen with the budget? I can't tell you exactly. All I know is that the Navy still has a goal of a 355 ship Navy. So that means more than we have now. And they've got to go somewhere. So, and with that comes, the tail of buildings and support facilities and training facilities for those sailors that come with more ships. So it becomes a land of choices, right? What are you going to knock down to build something new? Because we're out of land. We're out of the land that people really want. It's not near the pier. And so, yeah, you can't move the St. Johns River, you can't move the Atlantic Ocean, you can't build on the wetland. So here we are. It's just, we've got to manage our real estate really closely. Next slide. Okay, the aviation side. Our aviation loading, we have 4 squadrons, HSM 40, which is the training squadron for the helicopters out of Mayport. HSM 48, which is an operational squadron out of Mayport. VUT 19, which is a unmanned patrol squadron that is just standing up. So this is coined as the MQ-4C Triton. It will be the eventual replacement for what was my community flying the EP-3 out of Whitby. So think unmanned electronic reconnaissance. I was in the manned electronic reconnaissance business. So, but this is the unmanned. So the first is in Mayport and is flying out there. Like science fiction stuff. It's here today. And then HSM 50 is a new stand-up squadron that just came to Mayport. They're starting to get their helicopters rolling right now. HSM 46, if you've been here a while and you know the Grandmasters that were a mainstay to Mayport, HSM 46 moved over to NAS Jacks. The Navy made the decision to move them over and keep light squadrons together. And so that's the majority of the aviation side right now. You know, a lot of growing pains with Triton, but we're going to get there. You know, with change comes a lot of challenges, but challenges are opportunities in disguise. And we embrace them, and we're working with the Maritime Patrol Reconnaissance community to make sure they have a successful program. Next slide, please. Okay, enabling the fighter. So a lot of this has to do with public works, military construction, and building things. Right. Get there. So I'm looking at you. We can see that it's about $90 million of construction in the last 3 fiscal years. When budgets are shrinking and the Navy's building less in many places, Mayport's been growing. You probably noticed the skyline of Mayport has changed. Most of this is to support LCS, the Littoral Combat System. Ships which have come to Mayport. There's the support facilities, Phase 1, Phase 2, which are up on the slide, training facilities that are up there. And so most of the skyline of Mayport changing is to support LCS. With that, if you've driven by the base or came through the base, you probably noticed there's a parking garage, because now parking is a problem because you're building, you have so many ships, you have so many sailors, and all the support staff. So we actually have a parking garage now that has changed the skyline of Mayport. There's also, mentioned the South Quay Wall, which is down here. That was falling apart. I was afraid it was going to fall into the basin. So we're rebuilding that, and that'll bring that 18th berth back to the waterfront. Pretty neat stuff. And I would mention ordnance too. Missile magazines, P421, we need to have the capability to handle modern day warheads, right? Big enough to make a difference, right? And so we have to have ammo bunkers which are adequate to store them. And so we store them way out on the wetlands, away from housing. Great place to put things that could potentially go boom, get them out of the way, right? And so we're rebuilding that right now and bringing that up to speed. The Triton project, that's already done. The hangar's beautiful. I'll show you a picture of it in a minute. It's on the north side of the runway. And then, yeah, we're even bringing some lodging, the NGIS. That's the Navy Gateway Inns and Suites to bring more temporary lodging for the families that are ebbing and flowing from Mayport. Next slide, please. Okay, so there were the tragedies that were the USS McCain and Fitzgerald that probably everybody remembers from a few years ago, at-sea collisions where sailors died. Unfortunately, very sad events that happened out in busy shipping lanes, I think around the Hong Kong area or so. Very treacherous environments at night, challenging scenarios for handling ships. Some of the lessons learned that came out of that was we got to train better virtually. And the surface warfare community came up with a plan to build more high-speed simulators. Mayport was the first one to get one, and we just brought it online. It's still getting a little more robust, and we're getting the scenarios up to speed, still working with some of the tech people to really get that thing up and running. But this is a great news story for the Navy, and where our sailors can get the reps and sets out in the virtual environment, make mistakes in the trainer, so that they're ready to employ in high-end combat or high-density traffic environments, perhaps at night where it may not be clear what to do. Great place to do it is to do it in the simulator. Next slide. This is, Mayor Glasser knows this slide, I think, and the North Florida Transportation Planning Organization in their study. So this is also coupled with another study that we had conducted by the Electric Power Research Institute, IPRI. They did a study, spent some money to see what climate change and sea level rise is going to do to our area, right? So we're all part of this community. It's not just about Mayport. And 2065, 2-foot sea level rise, and this is about what you're looking at, folks. And so it's not real pretty for Mayport Village, A1A, Wonderwood, the main approach into Mayport may be in question, Mayport Road, and certainly our ordnance supply road. So we got to start talking about this, right? This is a big bill to raise all these roads, to get them above this floodplain. And how do we do it together? It's really expensive. We're really going to have to think through it together, and we're going to have to partner. And it's not just the roads. We're talking about climate resiliency, sea level rise. We're talking about, having a microgrid perhaps for Mayport in case we suffer the damage from a major hurricane, and we would need to power ourselves for a while, right? Have a redundant, resilient grid. We're even looking at battery storage, solar options. What are the options out there? My boss is all in about doing this, talking to JEA, trying to figure out ways, talking to TECO Natural Gas, trying to figure out ways to partner with the cities as well. And we're just going to keep working this. And it's a big problem. We've got some time, fortunately. Knock on wood, this hurricane season is okay. But it's a risk where we live. And we have to be honest and look at this and plan for the future, because this is obviously not acceptable. I'm confident, though, we'll work through it. Next slide, please. Okay, and then again, I said the reliability and resiliency being a huge issue. We're really working hard on that because it's a big bill. It's one we're going to have to partner with other organizations to try to find win-wins. Wins for the organization outside, wins for Mayport as well, and the government, perhaps cost sharing some of that. The scarcity of developable land, just not a lot of space where we can put new buildings, new capabilities. So the question becomes where else can we put it, or we've even had some proposals of training off base, those sort of things, driving on in. Nobody wants to do that. It's inconvenient. Probably the better answer is, what can we find that's old to knock down and rebuild? And then I didn't talk to you all that much about it. The gentleman from JSO would probably get this, but really first and foremost on my mind is for nothing bad to happen on the base. And an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And encouraging good behavior in the neighborhood, and making sure my security forces are up to speed and doing it by the book, right? And so that's a constant focus area for me. So with that, I've done a lot of talking. How are we doing on time? Good. That's probably too quick.
All right. For questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. If you have a question, just raise your hand, speak loudly, see if we can get you on video, and let's start off.
You didn't speak to this at all. Does Mayport have any formal relationship with Coast Guard? I know you took a separate entity, but you said, okay.
So formal relationship, I would have that. So the question again, just so you get it, is does Mayport have any formal relationship with the Coast Guard? I would say we do. I'd have to go back and do some homework as to what's actually written on paper. But I think more importantly is just the relationship I have with Captain Mark Vaughn, the Coast Guard Sector Commander. Every time the wind picks up around here or heavy weather's rolling in, him and I are sitting around the table trying to figure out what to do. We're not even doing that with us. We're doing it with the Maritime Operations Center Director at 4th Fleet, who represents the senior admiral in the area. And then, what are we doing with the ships? Where are the berthing barges going? What's the plan for all of the maritime traffic up and down the St. Johns River so that it doesn't get clobbered all at the same time? And so we work very closely to make sure that we come up with the best solution possible. Also, another interesting topic is with the Coast Guard, kind of tangential to Mayport, but we serve as a divert for SpaceX too, and if anything goes wrong with these capsules, they could potentially come off the coast and get recovered in Mayport. And so Captain Vaughn and the Coast Guard Sector Commander, they're responsible for a lot of the range clearance and stuff like that, all the way down, I think, to, and again, I'm not Coast Guard, but all the way down to Cape Canaveral. So he's got a lot of sea space out there to clear when SpaceX is doing a launch. And that coordination it's there. And, additionally, we do have one ship that is Coast Guard in Mayport. So we have one that is stationed there, as well as a variety of them that come in and out of port on a given day. So we're hand in glove with the Coast Guard. So does that answer your question, ma'am? Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Can we see the Triton hangar, please?
Oh, Triton. Did we load past that too quick?
Yeah.
I think we did.
You better go do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Just where you get the real pretty picture, you'll see it. That. Okay. So that's the hangar. And it looks like a painting, doesn't it? I mean, but that's a real picture. Yeah.
So, I-level support for that is at AIP Mayport or JAX?
I'm sorry, ma'am?
Intermediate level maintenance for the Trident components. Is that
The
still
intermediate
contracted?
level maintenance for Triton,
Yeah.
it's going to be FRC Southeast, so Fleet
So it
Readiness
goes
Center.
to Black Shoes.
I'm sorry?
It goes to Black Shoes.
Yes. Well, no, it's, so FRC Southeast can do a variety of intermediate level maintenance. So I don't think we've gotten to the level to where we need a whole ton of intermediate level maintenance on Triton. Nor do I claim to be a Triton guy, but I think the answer to your question is FRC Southeast. Now, FRC Southeast has a detachment on Naval Station Mayport.
At AMD or at Surma? Where is it?
Well, largely they're working on helicopters and painting helicopters and doing, work on the electronic systems for helicopters on Mayport. But Mayport, I'm sure that relationship will grow to accept some of what Triton needs. FRC Southeast's biggest footprint right now is over at NAS JAX to support P8. So, but yeah, this is a growing topic. I hope that helps. Yes, sir.
Each of the beach cities are dealing with sea level rise and resiliency, and we're all trying to come up with mitigation plans to handle it. And at least speaking for Neptune Beach, I would say that we would be very interested in at least hearing some of what Mayport will come up with in terms of handling resiliency for your base. Considering that you are essentially the fourth mayor, and so I think we could all partner together to try to come up with a holistic, unified approach that can help us manage the effects of sea level rise.
I agree. And you have, plug in my whole team. My best guy is my public works officer, who is, I don't know if you met him, Mayor Glasser, but he's in all the meetings with JEA, with TECO Natural Gas, and we're trying to figure out what's technologically feasible, what's not, get the studies done. But by all means, you have access to our team, so please, if you need to set up a calendar date and get everybody around the table, maybe get some folks from JEA or TECO there, if it makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. We should partner, no doubt.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate that you gave us a great description of what was going on today and in the near future. How far out does your planning go for Mayport? Were you looking 10 years out? station for the Navy.
Right, we're looking, this slide shows as far as 2065, right? Like do we know what 2065 really looks like? If we guess, we're probably wrong, right? That's why we've had some experts come in and do some studies for specific topics like sea level rise, climate change, those sort of things. In terms of strategic vision and things like that, we're looking, 5 to 10 years out, really, because it's hard to define what kind of ships the Navy needs, what kind of airplanes the Navy needs, the requirements. It's hard to see beyond that. What kind of ships do we need 10 years from now? If we guess, we're probably wrong, right? But what I can tell you is that with the aging infrastructure and building ships and rolling out everything so quick, a lot of times what folks forget is the tail that comes with that, right? I.e., new ships, new power requirements. Did we think about the right type of transformers on the shore to support those ships? Can we get enough juice going to them without damaging equipment? And those sort of things. So really, we spend an inordinate amount of time really trying to catch up on a variety of topics in which, we don't get all the money at once with a program. We get a ship. You get a robust training capability. Maybe, maybe not. But we figure it out. And a lot of times, the shore or the support is really chasing after that. So I just finished a brief today looking at 2025 and what can we fund and priorities and those sort of things. And, where's the cut line? How much money do we have? How many priorities do we have? So we're constantly looking at different windows of time, but I would say largely, no more than 10 years out as we get into details. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Sure.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm just wondering, what is the jurisdiction of Mayport? What do you cover on the coast? And the second is self-serving. If something ever is incoming to this area, is there an alert system for the rest of us?
I'll get to the first one, then so jurisdiction, in terms of legal jurisdiction?
Or area covered, your ships?
So our ships deploy around the world. They deploy around, literally, from off the coast of China to the Middle East, to down to the tip of South America, you name it, we're there. So, but in terms of jurisdiction, I think of legal jurisdiction, I think of law enforcement. And largely, most of Jacksonville, most of Mayport is concurrent jurisdiction with JSO. So most of it's concurrent unless we get into the waterfront or the airfield proper, and then it's exclusive jurisdiction to the federal government, to Mayport. And then, sorry, your second question?
Is there an alert system for the community, the beaches community, if something does happen internationally or?
So, not internationally, but what I would say is that we have an alert system on base to tap into the residents of Mayport, the 972 single-family homes, the residents, the tenant commands that may be busy working in their building on a given day. And it's called ad hoc. And it can come literally to your device. And, God forbid, active shooter, shelter in place, those type of alerts can come through. And then certainly, today's times, we're going to be moving quick. My first notification on the active shooter on Pensacola, for instance, was CNN. I'm like, that moved faster. Bill, how fast did it move?
It's incredible, yeah.
Incredibly fast. But by all means, if there's a concern, like the mayors, we're plugged into each other's cell phone. We'll call each other right away, and I'm sure you have your own alert system, right? Sort of. I'm assuming a lot.
We'll send out alerts, but people have to subscribe to them, so.
You've got to subscribe to them. We have the same problem.
But we also rely on the news for that. So
Yeah,
everybody's attached to their phone, so there's a lot of redundancy.
And there's some capabilities that are coming out, and I've been approached with some briefs and some folks that are trying to plug into better alert systems across the world, really. And I think they're trying to get the government to buy some. But it's a growth topic, to your point. How do we gain more situational awareness when something really bad's happening in the world? And how do we get it to come to everybody's device? Because let's face it, that's what everybody wants. Does that help? Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
So, thank you so much for coming. And I'll just use this as an opportunity to plug Safer Watch as an app that we have in Atlantic Beach. If you subscribe to it, and you'll get real-time alerts for anything of a public safety nature, but you can also provide information on something, so it does go two ways. It's only as good as the people that subscribe to it. So obviously we have a lot of really long-term challenges ahead of us, but you mentioned being together at the Beam Food Pantry, and I know firsthand about the work of the USO. You've got Sharon Kasika here who helps with the school kids. Can you speak to sort of some of the quality of life issues for the people who are our military service members at Mayport, and how inflation and other factors are affecting them, because it's affecting everybody else?
Right. So quality of life issues. And this is just probably a little bit of it. This is going to be candid. And I didn't speak to this. We're still suffering from the COVID hangover, right? Like this was not a good thing for our sailors. And you know, the mission of the Navy went on, regardless, zero fail. Everybody else can go home, but these sailors, these ships, they're getting underway because that's what you all pay us to do. And that comes at a cost, right? There's a lot of quarantining. There was a lot of, if you think a cruise is a long time, think about quarantining on the front end and back end of it, and the number of days you're away from your family to make sure that ship is clean. And then think about, you know, for those of us who do other things, and some of the shipboard sailors, you may be in unaccompanied housing, right? And the reality was, it was to and from, work only, essential stops only. Don't think about making a non-essential stop, because now you're dealing with a legal problem for the sailor. The gyms were closed, the bowling alleys were closed. Don't think about getting a Planet Fitness membership, because if we see you there, you're in legal trouble. This was our reality over the last few years. So there are some introverted habits that were developed, which I don't think are necessarily good for society and good for our growth and development and interaction and connectedness. And so, you know, there's probably a few mental health issues that we're dealing with as well. So that's a big thing. But I've been a staunch advocate to bring back as much as I can for the base and to keep things open. And honestly, a candid conversation with Mayor Glasser was, you know, the beach is just closed. I have 1.2 miles of Florida coastline. You know, phoning a friend here, I'm thinking about keeping the beach open. Am I crazy? I'm not a spring break destination. I can control this. I can patrol the beach. I can make sure there's no gatherings more than 10 people. And so we kept the beach open. That was the one win throughout this whole pandemic. And I love it that to be able to affect change and to bring these things to people who are hurting, right? And so I digress for a minute, but quality of life issues were really, really bad, but are getting better. And we're happy the base is open. We're happy to bring back things. What else am I missing? Another aspect of it?
Like housing off the base, I mean.
Yeah, right.
Inflation, I mean.
Right. So to those points, housing on the base. The housing is old. It's you know, there's some newer housing for the more senior folks, but largely it is it's older. It's probably my grandparents' vintage Florida homes that are kind of like duplexes, if you will, for the most part. They're solid block construction. They're clean, and our partner Balfour Beatty does a good job making sure that they're suitable for habitation. I would say that the rent for those homes is largely well below what's out on the economy. So the sailors are saving money. It's affordable housing. So that's a really good aspect of it. And with inflation, it's tough, right? It's just tough to get a house. Tough to find an apartment. Tough to be able to afford an apartment if you find one. So a lot of families are really flocking towards base, and occupancy is pretty darn good. But inflation, you know, we got a pay raise this year. Did it keep up? Absolutely not. So that's a very real thing that I think the Navy needs to look at as we go into 2023. So we're falling behind. I'm sure you all are as well. It seems like we're chasing prices, right? And the wages aren't keeping up. So, but to that end, we have a great organization called Navy Marine Corps Relief Society, which provides quick assist loans, provides grants, many times helping families out who are in need, new moms, these type of things. We've seen, news clips about formula shortage, these sort of things, and they're helping out in those sort of situations to make sure the babies aren't going hungry and the moms know what to do. And if you fall behind on your car payment, please don't let your car go back. Come on in, we'll figure the rest out. It's a charitable organization. I plug it to, if you want to help a sailor, that's the best way to help a sailor is to donate to Navy Marine Corps Relief. Ms. Barb Delaney is our director, who would love to partner with you. But again, it's not the long-term answer. The answer is hopefully our wages get adjusted for inflation going into 2023. Does that help? Thank you.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
And you probably hit on it already, Captain, but if you think about, we're going to leave tonight, and you want us to remember one thing, even if it's a repeat now, what would be the one thing you want us to walk out of this room when it comes to the relationship between Naval Station Mayport and the beach communities? Or maybe there's something beyond that even you want us to remember?
So like kind of two parts here. I think I started with it, is that we are part of this large community. We're blessed to be here. We love the relationships and the support we get in the Jacksonville area, in the beaches area, across the city. I mean, it's phenomenal. It really is. And let's just keep that up. Keep the momentum, and just remember us when you drive over that way. Say hi to a sailor. Thank them for their service. They're probably away from mom and dad and most of their loved ones, and it goes a long way when you just thank a sailor. So we'll just keep this momentum, I think, with our relationships. But largely nationally too. Again, if you could help us out with the messaging that the Navy is very relevant today, and that's a big takeaway. It is that the way we live in this global economy, it's kind of taken for granted, I think, and a lot of Americans just don't realize that it's not free. And who else is going to do it? Who else is going to, keep the threats away? No other country, I don't think, is going to step up. In my mind, I'm very proud of my Navy, so I think we're going to do it. I think it really protects our way of life. And we are forever connected now that, everybody's living with a cell phone in their pocket. Airplanes are going to and from countries, and ships are going around the world, and we rely on each other. It's a global world, it really is.
Any other questions for Captain?
I would suggest that the charitable organization, the contact information, email, if Beaches Watch organization could send that to all of us, I think that would be really good. In terms of our ability to help your team.
Bill, can you connect that back with them and then
Absolutely.
it's spread? Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
And Ronetta might be able to help get that to me.
She would. Renetta would, or Bill Austin, our public affairs officer in the back. So.
Any other questions, comments? All right, would you give a nice round of applause for Captain Canfield? Thank you very much. All right, take that last down. You've got a survey. Please complete it. It's not very long to do. Obviously, you want to do all fours on this one, because it's just wonderful. If you didn't like it, then just put the name Dane Gilbert down. That'll be fine, okay? Anyways, thanks to Dane for running our video tonight. Appreciate that. And again, Chief Pike, thank you. Hong Sing and Randy, thank you very much too. And everybody else who came, we appreciate you. Have a safe night and a wonderful weekend ahead.